Hey everybody, Qroo here. Welcome to the channel. You know, I often hear non-native speakers struggling a bit when someone asks them, how's the food? ¿Qué tal la comida? They're like, ¿es buena? ¿Está buena? ¿Está bien? Since food is such a big part of all of our lives, I decided to do a quick video on the topic. Don't worry, this will not be a long one. First of all, let's start with the whole ser and estar thing. Those are the two verbs in Spanish that mean to be. Take a look at these two sentences. Las fresas son deliciosas and las fresas están deliciosas. So what's the difference? Well, it's actually pretty simple. When you use ser, you're talking about strawberries in general. They are delicious. When you use estar, you're referring to specific strawberries. These strawberries or those strawberries are good. They're tasty. So if somebody asks you how the strawberries are, you're always going to use estar because they're referring to the ones you're eating, not strawberries in general, right? So you're eating a hamburger and somebody asks you, ¿Qué tal? Or ¿Qué tal la hamburguesa? How's the hamburger? One thing I like about ¿Qué tal? Is you don't even have to include the verb. You just use ¿Qué tal? And then just drop in nouns. Super easy to use. You can include a verb if you want to, but you don't have to. So in response to that question, you could say, Está deliciosa. It's delicious. And you'll notice it's deliciosa ends with an A, not delicioso. And that's because this is an adjective and adjectives have to agree in number and gender with the noun that they're modifying, that they're describing. What's our noun here? Hamburguesa, which is a feminine noun. So our adjective has to agree with that. Another word that's commonly used in Spanish to say something's really delicious is rico. Like rich. Now in English, when we say that food is rich, you know, we're talking about the flavor, or maybe it's too sweet or it's too decadent. But in Spanish, it's just like saying delicious. So we talk about our hamburger could be está deliciosa or está rica. So if you want to say the hamburger is good, how would you say it? Would you say está bien or está buena? Personally, if I want to translate that the hamburger is good, I would use está buena. But if I just want to say it's okay, I could say está bien. ¿Qué tal la hamburguesa? Está bien, it's okay. Está buena, it's good. ¿Qué tal el pescado? How's the fish? Está delicioso, está rico, está bueno. Pescado is masculine singular, so all of our adjectives are going to agree with that. ¿Qué tal las fresas? How are the strawberries? Están buenas, están deliciosas, están ricas. But what if the food isn't that good? I mean, if somebody asks you, ¿Qué tal el pollo? How's the chicken? You could be like, no me gusta, or no está bueno. But what if it's good, but you don't like some aspect, or you want to describe why you don't like it? Well, let's talk about that. ¿Qué tal el pollo? Está bueno, pero it's salty, or it's too sweet. How are we going to say that? Are we going to say es or está salado, or es or está demasiado dulce? This is where things can get a little more subtle, and sometimes native English speakers, we're going to have some difficulty determining which is the best here. And sometimes it's however you're actually perceiving the situation. So if you're talking about something that is supposed to be that way, for example, it is an inherent characteristic of the food item. The food item is always sweet, or the food item is always salty. Then we're going to use ser. That's an easy one. El azúcar es dulce. Sugar is sweet, right? It's an inherent characteristic. It's going to be es. La salsa de habanero es picante. Habanero sauce is spicy. It's inherently spicy. It's something about the sauce, right? Let's go back to our chicken. What if I want to say, the chicken's good, but the sauce they put on it is salty? Would I use es salada or está salada? This is where things can get a little bit more subtle because it really comes down to whatever the impression is of the person. If I've never been to this restaurant and this is a set dish and I'm thinking that that's just how the sauce is, you know, that's how they make it. It's always supposed to be that way. Then I would probably use es. Now, if I went to this restaurant all the time and I know this sauce is not supposed to taste like this and this one tastes really salty, then I would use está. ¿Qué tal el pollo? El pollo está bueno, pero la salsa que le pusieron es salada. And that one, I'm assuming that that's how the sauce is. And I'm just, you know, not a big fan of the taste. Now, if we're talking about something that we all know what the inherent characteristics are, like hot sauce, we all know it's spicy. Or like coffee, we know coffee tends to be bitter. So if my wife asks me, ¿Qué tal el café? Está muy dulce. Obviously, this is unusual, right? So maybe I'd have to clarify. Le puse demasiado azúcar. I put too much sugar in it. So you think you got that whole ser and estar thing down when it comes to describing the food? I know that sometimes it can seem pretty subtle, and to be honest with you, sometimes native speakers will debate on which one sounds best, so just don't overthink it or you're just gonna get frustrated, all right? Let's talk about the temperature of the food. Are we gonna use ser or estar? Well, estar is for temporary states and conditions, and temperature is definitely one of those things that can change pretty quickly. I get my food, it's hot, I wait too long, and it's cold, right? So we're gonna be using estar. El pescado está frío. The fish is cold. El café está caliente. The coffee's hot. Now let's say we've already eaten and now somebody's asking us how the food was. We're going to be talking in the past tense. Now the good thing about ¿qué tal? Is I don't have to put any verb in there. Even in the past tense, I could just put food, right? ¿Qué tal la comida? How is the food? ¿Qué tal la cena? How is the dinner? ¿Qué tal el pescado? I don't have to use a verb. Really like ¿qué tal? So if I want to say the fish was delicious, I have two options. The preterite, el pescado estuvo delicioso, or the imperfect, el pescado estaba delicioso. I'm going to tell you that, like, well, many things in Spanish, there is no set answer here, and you're going to get different answers depending on who you talk to, which native speakers, and where they're from. For example, my wife's from Colombia, and I've been spending a lot of time with my mother-in-law from Colombia recently, and after we eat, she asked me, ¿qué tal la comida? ¿Te gustó? I answer with the preterite, sí, estuvo deliciosa. Estuvo muy buena. And I do that because that's what they do. They always use the preterite in that certain circumstance. But I'll talk to people from other Spanish-speaking countries, especially Spain, and when I ask something like that, it comes back with the imperfect. Sí, estaba deliciosa. So my advice to you is that if you're focusing on the Spanish in a certain area, just do what they do. If they use the preterite or the imperfect, just do that. But if you're not set on learning the Spanish in one particular region and you just want to learn, like, say, general, as neutral as possible Spanish for travel, then I would probably just stick with the imperfect. Estaba deliciosa, estaba rica, estaba buena. Just go that route. Now, if they answer in the preterite, then, well, you know, hey, I'm going to switch over to the preterite. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, just do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And until next time, hasta luego.